I'm Hazel, 28, a fitness trainer. It's not just work, it's my passion. I thrive on helping people transform and find their inner strength. But let's switch gears from work to family. I'm the oldest of three. My dad and I are close. He's my rock. Then there's Mark, my 25-year-old brother, the family charmer. Though he has a gambling problem, he keeps brushing under the rug. And my sister Harper, 23, who's still in college and looks up to Mark like he can do no wrong. Last night, we gathered for one of Mom's big family dinners, complete with her famous lasagna. Everything seemed perfect until Mark announced, "I have some news." His grin stretched ear to ear. Cassandra and I are engaged. Cassandra is the socialite he's been seeing from a family with serious wealth. "Oh, honey, that's wonderful." Mom beamed, hugging him tightly, while Harper squealed with excitement. I offered my congratulations, but something felt off. When I glanced at Dad, he looked tense, a faint frown on his face. "Dad, you okay?" I asked. He forced a smile, nodding, "Of course, sweetheart. Just surprised." I knew him better than that, though. "So, any idea when the big day is?" I tried to lighten the mood. Mark shrugged, saying Cassandra was eyeing the destination wedding, something tropical like the Maldives or Bora Bora. I nearly choked on my water. "Wow, that's quite the plan." Mark just winked. "Don't worry, sis. Cassandra's family is handling most of it." But Dad's frown only deepened. "Are you sure about this, Mark?" His voice was unusually stern. Harper jumped in. "Dad, come on, be happy for him." The tension was thick, but Mom quickly steered the conversation to wedding details. Meanwhile, Dad kept sending Mark pointed looks, as if trying to communicate something only Mark ignored. After dinner, as I helped Mom clean up, I couldn't shake the unease. "Hazel, honey," she asked, noticing my silence, "are you all right?" I gave a half-hearted smile. "Just tired, Mom." 2 weeks later, things took a turn. Dad collapsed at work from stress and landed in the hospital. While Mom stayed by his side, I decided to organize his papers at home. That's when I found the bank statements and loan documents. My hands shook as I realized the truth. Dad had been secretly selling assets, our vacation home, his classic car collection, even dipping into my college fund, all to cover Mark's gambling debts. When Mom came home, I confronted her, waving the papers. "Did you know about this?" She sighed, sinking into a chair. "Hazel, honey, we were just trying to protect the family. If word got out, it would ruin us. And this is better, selling everything we own." My voice was thick with anger and hurt. Just then, Mark and Harper walked in. Mark's face paled when he saw the documents in my hand. "Care to explain these, Mark?" I asked, unable to keep the anger out of my voice. Hazel, I can explain." "Don't Hazel me. Dad's in the hospital because of you." Harper finally spoke up, her tone accusing. "Why are you being so hard on him? He said he'd change." "Are you serious? He's gambled away our family's future." I snapped back, stunned at her loyalty. "You think I'm jealous?" "Jealous of his ability to destroy everything." Mom stepped between us, trying to calm the storm, but I could see the damage had already been done. I looked around the room. Mom's pleading eyes, Mark's hollow promises, Harper's misplaced loyalty, and felt utterly alone. "I can't do this," I muttered, grabbing my keys. "I need some air." As I drove, my thoughts raced. How had things gotten so twisted? How was I now the bad guy just for speaking the truth? A heavy weight of betrayal settled on my chest. My phone buzzed with messages from Mom and Harper, but I ignored them. I needed time to think, to figure out my next steps. One thing was certain, things couldn't go on like this. Somehow, I found myself at the hospital, sitting by Dad's bed. He was asleep, looking older and more fragile than ever before. I gently took his hand, whispering, "I'm so sorry, Dad. I should have seen this sooner. But I promise I'll fix this somehow." Watching the steady rise and fall of his chest, I made a decision. No matter how hard it would be, I was going to break this toxic cycle for Dad's sake, for mine, and yes, even for Mark's. It's been a month since Dad went into the hospital. Despite our hopes, he never came home. The day he passed was the darkest of my life. Standing in that sterile hospital room, listening to the machines go silent, a part of me felt like it died with him. The funeral was a haze of black clothes and empty condolences. Mom was a wreck. Harper couldn't stop crying, and Mark just looked lost. Cassandra was there too, her flawless makeup barely hiding her discomfort. A week later, we gathered for the reading of Dad's will. I thought it might offer some closure, maybe even a few answers. Instead, it delivered one more heartbreak. I'm sorry, the lawyer said, clearly uncomfortable. Most of the estate has already been liquidated. There's very little left. Mom gasped. Harper looked confused. But Mark couldn't meet anyone's eyes. What about my college fund? I asked, though I already knew the answer. The lawyer shook his head. I'm afraid that's gone, along with your personal savings account. The room spun as I tried to process it all. Everything I'd worked for, every dollar I'd saved, gone to feed Mark's addiction. Cassandra stood up abruptly, looking at Mark. Can we talk outside? She asked in a strained voice. We all watched as she and Mark stepped out. When he returned, he was alone, holding his engagement ring tightly in his fist. She's gone, he mumbled. Said she can't marry someone with financial issues. Part of me wanted to feel sorry for him, but anger and hurt were too overpowering. Harper, always the loyal sister, rushed to his side. This is your fault, Hazel, she spat. If you hadn't exposed everything, Mark would still be engaged. You've ruined his life. I stared at her, unable to believe what I was hearing. I ruined his life, he ruined all of ours. Wake up, Harper. Mom tried to intervene, her voice tired. Girls, please, your father wouldn't want this. But I was done. Done with excuses, done with enabling, done with pretending everything was fine. No, Mom, I said firmly. Dad wouldn't want any of this. He wouldn't want his life's work gambled away or his family falling apart. And he wouldn't want us to keep pretending everything's okay when it's not. I turned to Mark. You need help. Real help, not more excuses. Then to Harper. And you need to grow up and see the truth. Finally, I looked at Mom. And you have to stop protecting him from the consequences of his actions. It's not helping anyone. I grabbed my purse and headed to the door. Where are you going? Mom called after me. I paused, hand on the doorknob. To build a life that doesn't revolve around cleaning up other people's messes. As I walked out, I heard Harper yelling, Mark pleading, and Mom crying. But for the first time in weeks, I felt lighter. The next few months were tough. I threw myself into work, picking up extra clients and even starting group classes at the gym. Each dollar I earned felt like a small victory, a step toward reclaiming my independence. I moved out of the family home and into a tiny studio apartment. It wasn't much, but it was mine. No drama, no lies, no more late-night rescues. Mom called frequently at first, then less so, and finally only on occasion. Harper sent angry texts, which turned to tearful voicemails, until even those faded into silence. Mark. Last I heard, he was in rehab. I hoped it would stick this time. One evening, I sat on my small balcony, watching the sunset. The pain was still there, the betrayal still stung. But I was healing. Slowly, surely, I was finding my way back to myself. For the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful about the future. My future, one I'd build on my own terms, free from the toxic patterns of the past. 2 years have flown by, and I barely recognize my life anymore. I'm standing in my own fitness studio, rise above, watching my clients push through their workouts. It's everything I'd ever dreamed of and more. Great job, everyone. I call out as the class wraps up. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being better than you were yesterday. As I'm wiping down equipment, my phone buzzes with a news alert. My heart drops when I see the headline. Local man arrested for fraud and embezzlement. There's Mark's face, haggard and defeated, as he's led away in handcuffs. Apparently, he'd been siphoning money from his workplace to fuel his gambling habit. Some things never change. I'm still processing the news when another message pops up. It's from Harper. Hazel, I know it's been a while. I'm so sorry for everything. Can we talk? My finger hovers over the reply button. Part of me wants to hear her out, but a larger part remembers the pain, the accusations, her blind loyalty to Mark. After a long pause, I type out a response. Harper, I appreciate your apology. I hope you're doing well, but I'm not ready to revisit the past. I wish you the best, but I need to maintain the boundaries I've set. Take care. It's not easy, but it feels right. I've worked hard to build this new life, and I'm not willing to risk it by falling back into old patterns. Later that week, I'm having coffee with my friend Sarah, who casually mentioned seeing Mom at the grocery store. She looked pretty rough, Sarah says, stirring her drink. Mentioned something about financial troubles. I think it has to do with your brother's legal fees. A pang of guilt hits me, quickly followed by frustration. Even now, Mark's actions are hurting the people around him. That night, I lie awake thinking about Mom, struggling to make ends meet. But I know that if I step in directly, I'll get pulled back into the family drama. Then an idea strikes. I grab my laptop and start searching. Soon, I find what I'm looking for: a support organization for families affected by gambling addiction. I make an anonymous donation, enough to cover a year's worth of counseling and financial planning services. It's not a solution, but it's something, a way to help without compromising my own well-being. Weeks pass and life goes on. My business continues to thrive, and I even start mentoring young trainers. One day, as I'm locking up the studio, I catch my reflection in the window. I barely recognize the woman staring back at me, confident, successful, at peace. I think back to that family dinner 2 years ago when Mark announced his engagement. How different things were then, how naive I was. But as I walk home under the setting sun, I realize I don't regret the journey. Every heartache, every setback, every tough decision led me here, to this moment, this life I've built for myself. I unlock the door to my apartment, bigger now, with a view of the city, and smile. On my fridge, there's a quote I put up when I first moved in: "The only way out is through." And that's exactly what I did. I went through the storm, faced the hard truths, made the tough choices, and came out stronger on the other side. As I settle in for the evening, a sense of calm washes over me. I may have lost the family I was born into, but I've gained something far more valuable: self-respect, inner peace, and the knowledge that I can weather any storm. So, what do you think? Was I right to cut ties with my family, or should I have stayed to help them? What would you have done in my shoes? Share your thoughts in the comments below.